My name is Olivia, a 32-year-old woman. I decided to start her life over after a long and difficult time. After a painful divorce, she and her two young children, Ethan, 7 years old, and Maya, 5 years old, moved to a new neighborhood in California, hoping that this would be a fresh start, a safe and peaceful place for them to rebuild their lives. Olivia has spent years working hard, being a single mother, and struggling to maintain stability for her small family. She doesn't want her children to continue living in an environment filled with stress and arguments. So she decides to move to a new neighborhood where things can start fresh. On their first day in the new neighborhood, they were greeted by a neighbor named Tom. Tom is a middle-aged man, living alone and quite enthusiastic. He welcomed Olivia and the children with a broad smile and a friendly invitation. "Hi, I'm Tom, your neighbor," he said, his voice cheerful and energetic. "How can I help you on your first day?" Olivia felt a sense of relief at the warm welcome. She smiled and replied, "Thank you, I just moved here. Everything is still new." Tom was very enthusiastic and proactive in offering to help with cleaning and organizing. He also gave some advice about the new neighborhood, explaining the shops and services nearby. Olivia felt relieved to see that Tom was approachable and willing to help. Olivia's children, Ethan and Maya, quickly became friends with Tom. They liked him immediately because of his cheerfulness and the gentle way he treated them. Tom was constantly smiling and chatting with the children, making them feel like they had a new friend. After a few days, Tom started offering to help look after Olivia's children while she was at work. Olivia was a little nervous at first, but since Tom was always friendly and seemed to understand children, she decided to agree. Tom spent time playing with Ethan and Maya, taking them for walks in the park and helping them with their homework. Olivia was grateful for Tom's help. She could work without worrying too much about her children. Tom even helped Olivia teach the children sports and outdoor activities, helping them to exercise and develop their social skills. In the afternoons, Olivia could see Tom taking the children to the nearby playground, where he played with them enthusiastically, as if he were truly a part of their family life. However, this friendliness also began to create unusual signs. One day, when Olivia came home after a day of work, she noticed that Ethan and Maya were chatting happily with Tom, and neither of them seemed to notice her as she entered the house. Ethan was the first to say, "Mom, Tom said we can play a little longer. We don't have to go to bed early." Olivia was a little surprised, but she just smiled and reminded the children to go to bed on time. However, she had a vague feeling in her heart, as if something was wrong. She didn't know exactly, but she felt that Tom's excessive familiarity with the children might not be entirely a good thing. This feeling became even more evident when, one weekend, Olivia began to notice small but distinct changes in the way her children behaved toward her. Instead of running to hug her mother when she returned from the store like usual, she just sat silently beside Tom, listening to him tell his story. Ethan, who had always called her Mom affectionately, now used the shorter term, Olivia. She felt a distance forming between her and her children that had never existed before. One evening, after everyone had finished eating and Ethan and Maya are playing together, Olivia decided to ask her children what they thought of Tom. She sat down with Ethan and Maya, gently said, "Do you like Tom? I see you are having fun with him lately." Ethan replied immediately, eyes full of excitement. "Yes, Mom, Tom is a great guy. He lets us play freely, without having to do homework." Maya also nodded. "Tom always makes us feel special, Mom." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine as she heard these words. She realized that she was starting to feel uncomfortable seeing Tom's closeness to her children. Feelings of doubt began to grow in her heart, but she couldn't immediately determine whether she was being overly worried or not. Olivia decided to let things go and not interfere too much in Tom's relationship with the children, but she couldn't deny that her concerns were growing. something was beginning to change, and she couldn't ignore it any longer. Since Olivia and her children moved into the new neighborhood, Tom's friendliness has become an integral part of their daily lives. She thought Tom was just a good friend, a hospitable neighbor, but after a while, his presence seemed to begin to affect not only her relationship with her children, but also their family life. Although Tom was initially just a helper, Olivia began to feel the changes gradually. First, there was his unintentional but unwanted advice on how to take care of the children. Every time Olivia saw him, Tom would give her instructions on what to feed the children, when they should go to bed, and even how Olivia should raise them. This advice was not genuine help, but an unwanted imposition. Olivia began to feel like she was being judged and gradually lost control of her own life. One evening, when Olivia and the children were having dinner, Tom appeared, as usual, bringing a gift for the children and joined the meal. He always found ways to entertain the children and joke with them. When Maya was only 5 years old, happily sitting on Tom's lap, her eyes sparkling as she laughed and played with him. Olivia saw this scene and a feeling of insecurity rose in her heart. Ethan, her eldest son, began to be less close to his mother. Instead, he went to Tom whenever something was not right. She realized that her son seemed to be dependent on Tom and no longer approached his mother to talk like before. Olivia's sense of unease continued to grow. She tried to suppress her anxiety and continued to let Tom help with the children while she worked. But one weekend, when she returned home early and intended to spend time with her family, she noticed something strange. Maya and Ethan were sitting on the sofa, talking to Tom, and they all seemed oblivious to her presence. She felt like an outsider in her own home. "What are you guys doing?" Olivia asked, her voice soft, but trying to hide the worry in her voice. Maya turned back, smiled, and said, "Mom, we're watching a movie with Uncle Tom. He said he's going to show us a great cartoon." Olivia looked over Ethan and noticed the hesitation in his eyes. Anxiety rose, but she tried to keep her cool. "But I haven't given you permission to watch the movie yet. We need to have rules," Olivia said, her voice a little firm. Tom spoke up. "Oh, don't worry, Olivia. They're just relaxing. I just want them to be comfortable. You don't have to worry about them." He smiled, but Olivia's eyes saw something strange in that smile, an insincerity she couldn't quite place. Olivia tried not to let her anxiety show. She signaled for the kids to stop watching and stood up, leading them into the dining room. But this only made her feel more confused. Tom was not just a helpful friend, he seemed to be deliberately invading her and the kids' living space, dictating family routines that Olivia had never agreed to. Over the following days, Olivia noticed an increasingly obvious change in Ethan and Maya. Ethan, who had always been close to his mother, now found himself comparing her to Tom. "Tom says Mom doesn't play with us like he does," Ethan said innocently one morning when Olivia asked about their plans for the day. Olivia felt undervalued in her own home, ignored by the very children she had raised. However, the most frightening thing is the words of Maya, when she said matter-of-factly, "Tom said we would be better parents than you." This sentence sent a chill down Olivia's spine. The children were not only influenced by Tom, but they began to accept his words as truth. Olivia felt her existence in the family was gradually being erased. One night, when Tom came over to help out a little, Olivia decided to test him. She sat him down at the dinner table, determined to have a serious and frank talk about what was bothering her. "Tom, I need to talk to you about what's going on," Olivia began. "I don't want you to keep interfering in my children's upbringing without my consent." Tom sat down, still smiling, but there was something strange in his eyes. "Olivia, I don't think you understand," he replied softly, but his tone was slightly sarcastic. "If you couldn't have children, you would understand what I'm doing. I only want the best for them." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. She realized that Tom was not just doing a good deed, but was taking advantage of her uncertainty and trust to interfere in her family life. His words were not only imposing, but also seemed like a challenge. The next day, Olivia decided she wasn't going to let this situation drag on any longer. She called Maya, the only person she can trust. After explaining the situation, Maya immediately sets out to help Olivia track Tom's actions and gather more evidence. Olivia knows that if she doesn't act now, she will lose control of her family's life forever. Olivia began installing recording devices and hidden cameras in rooms throughout the house. She also began talking more with her children to find out how much they had been influenced by Tom. However, the change in their attitudes is more obvious. The children no longer ran to hug their mother when she came home. They seemed to have a new friend, someone they loved and trusted more than their mother. Olivia decided to confront Tom again. But this time, she would not let him get away with it. She not only wanted to protect her family, but she also had to fight for her right to be a mother and to raise her children. Tom would not easily take everything she had built. Olivia couldn't take it anymore. Although she tried to convince herself that maybe Tom was just a good guy, trying to help her family, what she had seen over the past few days was completely different. Her children, Ethan and Maya, seemed to have been too dominated by Tom. Their behavior became more and more strange and not the same as before. Her children now not only disobeyed their mother, but also gradually turned their backs on her. Olivia couldn't sit still and accept this any longer. She felt like she was losing control. During their conversations, Ethan and Maya all turned to Tom, as if he were the one with real power in the house. The little girl Maya even said bluntly, "Tom said that Mom wouldn't understand, and she would be angry if we didn't listen to him." Olivia felt her heart squeeze at those words. She knew that if she didn't act now, she would lose her children. It was terrifying, but the more she feared, the more she felt the need to be strong. Olivia began installing surveillance cameras in the house. Although she didn't want to invade her children's privacy, she knew that this was the only way she could know what was really going on when she wasn't there. Recording devices and cameras were hidden in the living room, the bedroom, and even the den. She knew that Tom was manipulating her children, but she also knew that there was no way to prove it without the images and audio from the cameras. In the following days, Olivia noticed more and more strangeness in her children's behavior. Maya became more tearful and stubborn than ever, but every time Olivia tried to ask what was going on, she said she wouldn't understand. Ethan, her eldest son, had a strange look on his face whenever Tom was mentioned. He always avoided his mother's eyes, as if he was hiding something. Olivia decided to confront Tom again. This time, she couldn't let him get away with it as easily as last time. She invited Tom to her house one evening, wanting to talk things out and clear things up. She was prepared. Everything was planned carefully. When Tom arrived, Olivia tried to keep her composure, but she couldn't hide the worry in her eyes. "Tom, I need to talk to you," Olivia began, her voice shaking a little but trying to stay strong. "I can't let you keep interfering with my children's upbringing like this." Tom sat down on the chair, his face still smiling, but there was something strange in his eyes. He said nothing, just smiled meaningfully, as if he knew what Olivia would say. "Olivia," Tom said, his voice soft but confident, "I just want to help you. You know, I don't have any children of my own, but I really like both of them like my own children. They need care, guidance, and I just want to make sure they are raised properly." Olivia stared at him, feeling a chill down her spine at those words. She didn't know what to say. She had heard similar words many times, but this time, she sensed a hint of cunning in Tom's voice. "Tom, you can't keep talking to my children like that," Olivia insisted. "They're my children. I decide how to raise them. You have no right to interfere with that." Tom was silent for a moment, then stood up and walked toward the door. "I understand, Olivia, but I only did what I thought was best for them. I just wanted to help. I didn't mean anything else." Olivia watched him leave, feeling like he was deliberately avoiding the issue. Even though she had made it clear, Tom still maintained his defiant attitude. But she knew that, this time, she couldn't just stand by and accept this. She was determined not to let him destroy her family's life. As soon as Tom left, Olivia immediately checked the recording devices and cameras. When she heard what happened in the kitchen, she could hardly believe what she heard. Tom had told his friend, "Just a few more months, Ethan and Maya will be mine." Those words made Olivia's heart stop. These words weren't just manipulation, but a real threat. Olivia couldn't wait any longer. She had to act immediately. She called Helen, her trusted sister, and told her everything. Maya immediately went to the house to help Olivia. The two sisters began to plan to gather more evidence and at the same time find a way to bring Tom to justice. Olivia understood that she could no longer let Tom continue to sneak into her family's life. She had to do everything she could to protect her children. In the following days, Olivia began to feel like she was living in a never-ending war. Every time she saw Tom, she felt an unknown threat, and every time her children distanced themselves from her, the sense of loss in her heart grew. Tom had succeeded in creating a divide, but Olivia could not let this continue. She decided to bravely face him again, and this time, she would not give Tom the chance to take control of her life. Olivia had no time to worry or think anymore. With each passing day, it became more and more clear that she was losing control not only of her family life, but also of the children she loved so much. Days of doubt and uncertainty had begun to surround her. She could no longer sit still, no longer wait while Ethan and Maya continued to be strongly influenced by Tom. She had to do something to stop his plans. Olivia looked back at the evidence she and Helen collected. Hidden surveillance cameras and recording devices captured important conversations between Tom and her children. What he said to his friends on the phone, how he manipulated the children and planned to take away Olivia's custody, it was all recorded. Yet she still felt like something was missing. Tom is very smart and cunning. He always knows how to say seemingly harmless words, but has dark intentions behind them. Olivia can't just rely on his words. She needs more solid evidence strong enough to completely expose him. One late afternoon, when Olivia had just arrived home, she felt something very strange. Her front door was open strangely, and her shoes were still in the hallway, which made her feel suspicious. She entered the house but saw no sign of him, Tom, or her children. When she entered the living room, she was surprised to see a family photo upside down on the table, the photos that she had displayed in the living room. She also noticed that small items such as vases and ornaments had been moved from their original positions. Olivia immediately felt nervous. She didn't know exactly what had happened, but a sense of unease rose in her heart. Had Tom entered the house without her permission? She hurriedly checked her cell phone and noticed that there was a missed call from Helen, her sister. She quickly called back. "Maya, did you notice anything strange? I just came home and found the door open and things out of place," Olivia said, her voice filled with concern. "You don't have to worry too much, but if you feel unsafe, it's best to call the police," Helen replied, her voice sounding serious. Olivia didn't hesitate. She picked up the phone and called the police immediately. Although there was no obvious sign of an intruder, she knew that if this involved Tom, then this could develop into a more serious situation. When the police arrived, they began to note signs of forced entry. However, they found no clear evidence of forced entry or forced entry. However, Officer Reynolds has asserted that if there is any indication that monitored the house without permission, they will open a formal investigation. "You should be patient and watch for further signs, if any," Officer Reynolds advised. "Remember, you need to have concrete evidence." Olivia returned to her home, bewildered. She knew things were much more serious than she had imagined. The actions of Tom were no longer just a casual remark, but an elaborate plot to seize control of her family. After the police left, Helen came to stay with Olivia and her children. Olivia and Maya sat down together and discussed their next steps. Olivia knew that she couldn't just stand by while Tom continued to attack his family. Helen suggested that they needed to gather more evidence, especially about the actions of Tom as he continued to approach her children. "You need to make Tom. He revealed his true intentions," Helen said. "With just one more recording, we can come up with stronger evidence, but we have to make sure he doesn't suspect anything." Olivia nodded, feeling nervous, but more determined than ever. She couldn't let go. Tom continues to impact her life and that of her children. It is a battle she will not give up. The next day, Olivia decided to confront him directly. "Tom." She was prepared for this conversation. She invited him to her house, trying to stay calm, but feeling very nervous inside. When Tom arrived, Olivia did not let him easily approach the children. She asked Tom to sit down in the living room where the children were not around. Tom could sense the tension in the air, but he still tried to maintain a pleasant expression. "Tom, I want to make this clear again," Olivia began, trying to keep her emotions in check. "I don't want you to continue to interfere with how I raise my children. I am their mother, and I will decide what is best for them." Tom sat still, saying nothing for a few seconds. Then he sighed, looking at Olivia with a meaningful gaze. "Olivia, I just want the best for your kids," he said, his voice calm. "You might think I'm interfering, but I just want the best for them. You know, I don't have kids, but I see Ethan and Maya like my child." Olivia couldn't help but feel tense. She looked into his eyes and knew that those words weren't true. Tom didn't just want to help. He wanted to control. "Tom, I don't trust you anymore," Olivia said, her voice cold. "I don't need your help, and I don't want you to keep taking advantage of my children." Tom was silent for a moment. Then finally he stood up. "If you don't want to help, I won't force you. But you'll find out later, Olivia," he said, his eyes flashing with a faint menace. Olivia felt a chill run down her spine, but she knew this confrontation wasn't over. She had to keep fighting and protect her family. The next day, Olivia reviewed the recording from their conversation with Tom. His words of, "If you don't want to help, I won't force you anymore," made her feel like she had just received a stick in her hand. Although the words weren't clear enough to convict him, Olivia knew that this was a sign that Tom was getting closer and closer to his ultimate goal. Olivia couldn't sleep that night. The tension inside her was growing with each passing second. She knew things were getting more serious than ever. Signs of manipulation and veiled threats from Tom were starting to become clear. She had confronted him and made it clear that she didn't want him to interfere in her family life any longer. But Olivia also knew that the fight wasn't over. She didn't have enough evidence, and the danger Tom posed had yet to be fully exposed. During the days following the encounter, Olivia couldn't help but feel a heavy sense of dread. Tom continued to show up at her home whenever he got the chance. Despite her attempts to distance herself, he still found ways to intrude into the family's life, continuing to play the good guy and interfering in the upbringing of her children. Olivia's sense of unease grew. She knew she had to act more decisively, or else not only her life, but also the safety of her children would be in danger. One afternoon, when Olivia was working in the living room, she noticed Tom suddenly appeared at the front door. He stood outside the door, smiling as friendly as ever, but there was something different in his eyes. It was the eyes of someone who knew he had everything under control and was just one step away from completing his plan. "Olivia, I came to see the kids," Tom said calmly, his hands holding a small gift bag. "I think they'll like this." Olivia looked at him, feeling a chill down her spine. She had not allowed him to have any contact with her children for a long time, but this time she could not help but feel something very different in Tom's attitude. He was no longer simply bringing gifts like a good friend. but now he was using a different tactic. Tom, I don't think now is the time for you to meet my children, Olivia replied, her voice calm but firm. We need some space. I don't want you to keep bothering them. Tom stood there, unfazed by Olivia's reaction. He simply shrugged, as if indifferent to her refusal. I just wanted to make things easier, he said, and continued into the house without waiting for Olivia's permission. The kids love me, Olivia. You should understand that I just want to help. Olivia felt a surge of anger rise within her. She had made it clear that she did not want him near the children, yet he had ignored all her requests. However, she tried to remain calm and not let Tom see the worry in his eyes. Tom, if you want to continue your relationship with my children, you need to respect my decisions, Olivia said more firmly. I've made it clear. This is not the right time. Tom looked at her, then around the house as if searching for something. A feeling of unease began to settle in Olivia. Not only was he trying to pull her children into his plans, but he was also trying to destroy the independence she had worked so hard to build. She didn't want him to stay any longer, but she couldn't refuse when he was still standing there, trying to find a way to please his children. Maya and Ethan go down the stairs and run to the place immediately, looking at him with eager eyes. Both of them were happy, as if nothing was wrong when Tom still came to visit and brought gifts. This made Olivia feel more worried than ever. When Maya jumped on Tom's lap, the little girl looked at her mother with a strange look. Olivia couldn't help but notice the change in her children's attitude. They no longer came close to her, no longer hugged her like before. The feelings between her and her children were gradually becoming distant, and Olivia didn't know how to bring them closer. Can we play with Uncle Tom, Mom? Maya asked, his face innocent, but there was something cold in his eyes. Olivia felt like everything was slipping away from her. She couldn't keep silent any longer. She walked over to her children, pulling them into her arms. Maya out of Tom's thigh and put Ethan get off the chair. We're not playing with Uncle Tom today, Olivia said, her voice more determined than ever. I need you to listen to me. We have something to talk about. He was standing up. He looked at Olivia with a challenging gaze, but did not forget to calmly say to the children, If you want to play, we can go out together. I will take you to the park. He winked at Maya, but he didn't expect that his actions would push Olivia to her limit. Olivia felt deeply violated. Tom had not only violated her rights as a mother, but also challenged the control she had over her children. She felt her heart tighten. This could not go on. She stood firm, not allowing herself to waver, even though her heart was in turmoil. Get out now, Tom, Olivia said, her tone no longer accepting concession. Get out, and never come back. Tom looked at her for a moment, his expression changing, but in the end, he just smirked and walked out without another word. The door closed, and Olivia felt a wave of relief, but also a sense of peace. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. She lay awake, thinking about what had happened and what she needed to do next. Tom has begun to make his plans more explicit. He has drawn her children into an elaborate game that she must now fight to regain control of. Olivia called Helen the next morning and told everything that happened. Helen advised her that they needed more evidence to convict her. Tom had to come out. She knew that this fight would not be easy, but Olivia also knew that she had to keep fighting to protect her children and her family. After a tense confrontation with Tom, Olivia felt like she had just come out of a battle, but victory was still ahead. She couldn't stop thinking about the words he had said, the defiance he showed in every action. What happened in the following days made Olivia realize that not just a friendly neighbor, but a manipulator with a clear plan to usurp her motherhood and influence the upbringing of her children. Olivia had made a decision that there was no turning back. She needed to act more decisively and intelligently, by not simply confronting him directly, but also have to prepare a full legal plan to protect their rights. The feeling of unease did not leave her alone in the following days. Every time she looked at his innocent face, Ethan and Maya, she felt hurt and angry again. Tom created invisible distances between her and her children. He secretly interfered in every action and word of them. Ethan and Maya. The children were no longer her children. They had been too influenced by her persuasion. Tom and Olivia begin to feel like she's on the outside of her own life. In a conversation with Helen, Olivia couldn't help but feel worried when she heard about the change in her children's behavior. Helen went to visit the children one evening and noticed Ethan seemed to become distant, talked less to her, and was only interested in whether Tom was present or not. She also felt the change in attitude of Maya when the little girl no longer ran to hug her mother every time she came home like before. Olivia feels like she is losing power in the family, not because of her lack of effort, but because of her father's subtle manipulation of Tom. She couldn't let this continue. She needed to take back control. In the following days, Olivia sought out a family lawyer. She knew this was the most important step in her legal battle. Helen helped her find a reputable attorney who had handled child custody and family intervention cases. Olivia is seeing a lawyer made her feel lighter than ever. Finally, she had someone on her side, helping her through situations she couldn't get through on her own. "I will help you, Olivia," the lawyer said, his voice firm. "We need to gather all the evidence we can to prove your manipulation and machinations of Tom. The most important thing right now is to stay calm and not let your emotions get the best of you. You are on the right track by installing surveillance and recording devices. We will need more information from our conversations with Tom. His words and actions will be solid evidence in this case." Olivia felt like a light went off in her mind. She wasn't alone in this fight. Even though Tom is a formidable opponent, with the help of her lawyer, she can stand her ground. All her plans are carefully prepared, and now, Olivia no longer has to fear the threat of Tom. But the closer she gets to the legal battle, the more Olivia realizes that he was not an easy man to defeat. He constantly tried to create new situations to put Olivia in an awkward position. One day, when Olivia came home from work, she discovered something unusual. Her children were with Tom, and he took them out without telling her. Olivia felt like she was being lied to again. She couldn't let it go. Tom continued to enter her children's lives without her consent. She decided she would have to have another confrontation. When she called Tom to talk, the atmosphere in the house became more tense than ever. Olivia started the conversation, more determined and strong than ever. She took out her phone and opened the recording she had captured. "Here is the proof, Tom. Proof of what you said when you thought no one was listening." She turned on the recording. Tom told a friend on the phone, "Just a few more months, Ethan and Maya will be mine. I've turned them against her. Now just push it all up and blame her. She'll be investigated for child neglect, and guess who they'll want to live with? Me." Olivia looked at Tom with a challenging look in his eyes. "Here are your words. You plotted to take my children, and now I have the evidence to prove it all." He lost his previous confidence. His face paled, his mouth hardening. "Olivia, you can't do this. If you do, I'll make your life harder. You have no idea where this is going." Olivia stood up, more determined than ever. "I know exactly what's going on, and I won't let you manipulate us any longer. You lied to me. You lied to my children. You have no right to destroy my family." For a moment, Olivia felt like everything was settling in. She had said everything she needed to say, and she felt relieved. Tom could no longer continue to manipulate her or her children. She was prepared to confront and protect her family, not only with reason, but also with unconditional love for her children. "The police have been informed about you, Tom. You can choose to continue down this path, but I will not stop until you pay for your actions." He stood up, his eyes no longer confident as before. He walked out of the house without another word. Olivia watched him go out the door, and all the worries and tensions in her heart gradually eased. Finally, she had done what she had to do. As soon as Tom left, Olivia immediately contacted Helen and attorneys to ensure that all next steps were taken promptly. She knows that Tom won't give up easily, but she is fully prepared to protect her children. After a tense confrontation with Tom, Olivia couldn't let her guard down. Although she felt somewhat relieved that she had faced him directly and had gathered enough evidence, she knew that this battle wasn't over yet. It was only the first step, and he still won't give up on her goal easily. She has the evidence, but now she has to make everything clear, undeniable. The next day, Olivia and Helen, together with her attorney, to consider the next steps in her legal strategy. Olivia knew that, although the evidence she had was very strong, in order to protect her custody, she needed to prepare a solid case, not only about Tom's behavior, but also about how he affected her children over time. Every detail, no matter how small, had to be meticulously recorded. We need to prove that not only did he manipulate your children, but he also took covert actions to deprive you of parental rights, Olivia's attorney said, pointing to audio and video recordings that were collected. Every word he said, every action he took could be used as evidence in a court of law. Olivia nodded. She knew it wouldn't be simple. Being a wise man, he would not leave any traces that could lead to his conviction. Olivia understood clearly that he had prepared very carefully, and now she needed to seize every opportunity to protect her family. The next day, Olivia decided to continue monitoring the actions of Tom, not only in the family environment but in other situations as well. She knows that Tom won't stop, and she needs to find a way to get him to reveal his true intentions. Olivia and Maya together to make a plan, to create a situation where it was inevitable that he would be exposed. Everything had been meticulously planned. With the help of a lawyer, Olivia decides to face not only a simple meeting that would create a situation that would force him to admit his manipulative behavior. She planned to invite Tom to his house one evening, but this time, she will record every word with carefully hidden recording devices. Both Olivia and Maya all know that Tom is not easily fooled. But they also understand that if they do not act quickly, Tom will have the opportunity to approach Ethan, and Maya continue to carry out his plot. By that evening, he arrived on time as usual. Olivia was prepared, and she kept her composure as he walked in. She wanted him to feel like everything was normal, that there was nothing to worry about. But Olivia knew that everything would change in the next few hours. "Hi, Olivia," Tom said cheerfully, as if nothing was wrong. "I just came to visit the kids, no big deal," Olivia replied, keeping her face calm. "Hello. Tom, I think we should sit down and talk a bit. There are a few things I need to clear up with you." Tom was a little confused, but he couldn't refuse Olivia's invitation. He sat down, and Ethan and Maya quickly ran to him, greeting him cheerfully. But Olivia didn't pay attention to the children anymore. She was ready, and this time, she wouldn't let Tom dodge his question. "Tom, I can't just let you keep having access to my children without my consent," Olivia began, her voice firm. "I told you before that I don't want you interfering in how my children are raised anymore. I want respect and control in deciding everything that concerns them." Ethan and Maya. Tom looked at her, an unhappy expression on his face. "Olivia, there you go again. I just want to help. I know your children, and I know what they need. You can't just forbid me like that. I'm doing the right thing for your children." Olivia couldn't let him talk anymore. She quickly turned on the recording device she had hidden in the living room and let him continue. Every word he said, every time he claimed he just wanted to help, was a lie that Olivia needed to record. "I've had enough," Olivia said, her voice as firm as ever. "You don't understand that I am the mother of my children. I have the right to decide how to raise them. You have no right to interfere in our lives." Tom looked at her with a disapproving expression, but then shrugged. "Olivia, I did nothing wrong. You know I always thought of these children as my own. I'm not a bad guy." Olivia knew that she couldn't just stand there and listen to his excuses anymore. She had enough evidence. The recording she had obtained would be the strongest evidence to bring to Tom in court, and now it's time for her to make a final decision. "We will not continue this conversation anymore, Tom," Olivia said, her voice cold. "I have enough evidence to prove your actions. I will not let you continue to manipulate my children. You will face the consequences of your actions." He stared at her, but in the end, he stood up and left the house without another word. Olivia didn't feel happy or gloating after this confrontation. She just felt the tension in her heart ease a little. The fight wasn't over yet, but she knew she had done the right thing. Olivia sat in the living room, looking at the recording devices and videos she had collected over the years. Every time she listened to the conversations, she felt a chill rise in her chest. The words of Tom. It was no longer a joke or harmless advice, but a challenge. The words of a calculating manipulator. She had been patient. She had tried to persuade him. But now she knew that there was only one way to protect her family: to fight to the end. The feeling of tension did not leave Olivia. Even though she had gathered enough evidence, there was still a worry in her heart. Would everything she was doing be enough to bring him out into the light and defend her motherhood? She looked at old family photos, where there were happy moments, times when her children ran to hug her after school, calling her mom with all their love. Now everything seemed so far away. Her children had changed, no longer running to her when she came home. Instead, there were cold words, invisible distances that Tom had created. Olivia decided she couldn't live with this uncertainty any longer. She found a good lawyer who helped her prepare for the next steps of her lawsuit. However, Olivia knew that she needed to face once again. But this time it will not be with gentle words or challenges. She will make more difficult decisions than ever, for her children, for her family. She remembered the words Maya told her during the evidence collection process. "If he continues to attack your family, you have to stand firm and fight. You are their mother, and only you have the right to decide their lives." The next day, Olivia received information from the lawyer that they had arranged a meeting with Tom to resolve the issue peacefully. She knew that she wouldn't agree easily, but she also understood that this was her only chance to clear things up before it was too late. As the date approached, Olivia prepared everything carefully. She couldn't let Tom manipulate her any further. Everything had changed, and now she would be the one to decide the fate of her family. That afternoon, he arrived at Olivia's house on time, showing no signs of realizing the seriousness of the situation. He walked in with a familiar face, a friendly smile on his face, but Olivia was not fooled anymore. She knew full well that he was hiding his true nature. "Hi, Olivia," Tom said in a friendly manner, as if everything was normal. "I came to clarify some matters. You don't have to worry too much." Olivia did not let him continue the conversation in the usual manner. "Tom, I don't want to waste any more time. I've had enough patience. You know that you have violated my children's custody, and I will not allow that to continue. I have enough evidence to prove that you are manipulating my children." Tom looked at her. His expression gradually changed. His eyes began to turn cold, and the previous confidence had clearly decreased. "Olivia, you don't understand. I'm just doing what's best for your children." "Don't lie to yourself, Tom," Olivia replied, her voice firm. "What you did was manipulate, not help. You used my children as tools in your scheme. You tried to take away my motherhood, and I won't let that happen." Olivia stood up and walked towards him. Tom backed away, but he remained defiant. "Olivia, you can't do this. If you continue, I'll make your life more difficult. You'll never win this." Olivia was not intimidated by his threat. She was prepared for anything. She took out a thick folder from her bag, filled with documents, recordings, and transcripts of conversations she had collected. "Here is everything you need to know, Tom," Olivia said, her voice unwavering. "Everything you did, your words, and your conversations were recorded." She opened a document and began reading a recording. Tom said in a call with a friend, "Just a few more months, Ethan and Maya will be mine. I turned them against her. Now just blame her, and CPS will come and take them away. He stood up abruptly, his expression draining. You can't do this, Olivia, he said, his voice shaking. You can't use that against me. I only want the best for the kids. The day finally came. Olivia stood in court, nervous but strangely calm. She knew that this was the moment of reckoning, the moment when everything she had done, everything she had been through, would be brought to light. It was a long battle, but also a battle of righteousness, of love and protection. She was fighting not only to protect the custody of her children, but also to protect herself from the manipulation and invasion that was imposed on her life. As Olivia's lawyer entered the courtroom, Olivia felt the tension. She was no longer the weak woman she had been. She thought. She was a mother, a strong woman fighting for her family. Although she had worries in her heart, she knew that her resilience would be what helped her overcome everything. Tom also arrived at the courthouse. He walked in with a confident air, a gentle smile as usual. But Olivia couldn't help but notice that this time, there was something fake about his confidence. He knew that this time he was no longer in control of things as before. Although he tried to maintain a calm appearance, his eyes could not hide the anxiety. He looked at Olivia with defiance, but deep down, she could see the fear slowly showing. The trial began, and Olivia felt every second tick by. She couldn't imagine facing all that. Tom did, but she also understood that if she didn't stand up, he will continue to intrude into her life and her children's. She will not let him continue to do so. Olivia's attorney was very well prepared. All the evidence was clearly and coherently arranged. She provided recordings, conversations, and transcripts of conversations with Tom. All prove that not only interfered with Olivia's upbringing, but also intended to deprive her of custody. She has been searching for the truth, and now that truth will be revealed. When it was Tom standing up, he had prepared another story, but this time, Olivia clearly felt that he could not deceive everyone. He began with the familiar excuse. I only wanted to do good for the children. I only wanted to protect them from the shortcomings I saw in Olivia's upbringing. I loved them as my own. But those words were no longer convincing enough. Tom made a big mistake thinking that Olivia couldn't fight him. Don't lie anymore, Tom, Olivia said, her voice firm, unwavering. The court and my children have seen what you have done. You are not the only one who has the right to decide their lives. My children need a mother, not a man who wants to usurp their fatherhood. Olivia stood firm before Tom, no longer feeling any fear. Tom tried to defend himself, but his words could not change the proven facts. She not only had the recordings but also other powerful evidence, and all of it exposed the conspiracy of Tom. The entire courtroom hung on Olivia's every word, and she could feel everyone's sympathy. She was not only defending her rights as a mother, but also defending the values she believed in. She did not want her children to live in a manipulated environment where they could not freely decide their own lives. She had fought to be the best mother she could be, and she would not give up. As the trial drew to a close, Olivia felt her nerves building. Her lawyer had presented a strong and clear case. There is no denying what happened. He has been brought to justice. Although the tension did not let up for Olivia, she felt a glimmer of hope when the court announced that Tom will no longer have the right to interfere with Olivia's upbringing of her children. She won, not only because she had clear evidence, but because she did not give up. Because she persevered and did not give up her right to be a mother. When the trial was over and Tom was declared emancipated from her children, she felt not joy, but a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Although this victory brought her some peace of mind, she knew that the road ahead was still full of challenges. However, with each step, Olivia felt that she was regaining her freedom, and so were her children. After the trial, Helen went to Olivia and hugged her tightly. I knew you could do it, Maya said, her voice breaking. "You're stronger than ever." Olivia smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. She knew her family's life would never be the same, but at least she had regained control. She had protected her children, and in her mind, that was the greatest victory. She returned home, where her children were waiting, and this time, as they ran to hug her, Olivia felt a joy she had never felt before. These moments would be the most wonderful memories, moments she would never forget. Olivia knows that her life and her children will not be perfect, but she will always do everything to protect them from any intrusion, any manipulation. She has learned that sometimes justice does not come quickly, but in the end, perseverance and courage will help you win. Olivia didn't let him say more. She brought out another recording, this time of the conversation between Tom to himself, talking about making the kids manageable. "It's not that I don't have a reason. I have a plan, Olivia, and it's working. You're going to lose this fight. I'm the only one who can raise them." "Those are the words of a manipulator," Olivia said coldly. "Tom, I am not just telling you, but I am preparing to bring you into the light. Everything you have done, everything you have said, I will use it to protect my children." He said nothing more. He stood still, his eyes filled with defeat. The sense of confidence he had maintained all this time had completely disappeared. At this moment, Olivia not only felt victory, but also relief. She had won this battle, even though the final result was not yet known, but she knew that she had done the right thing. She found peace in her fight, but she also knew that this fight would not end quickly. Tom will not give up, but now, she has enough weapons to protect her family. This feeling will take her to the next steps in her journey to regain custody of her children. She called Helen as soon as the meeting was over. "He can't keep lying anymore, honey," Olivia said with relief. "Everything he said and did will never be forgotten." With the help of Helen and an attorney, Olivia is ready to move on to the next legal phase, where she will bring into the light and regain control of her children's lives. But no matter how long this fight took, she knew she was ready. She would never back down. The day finally came. Olivia stood in court, nervous but strangely calm. She knew that this was the moment of reckoning, the moment when everything she had done, everything she had been through, would be brought to light. It was a long battle, but also a battle of righteousness, of love and protection. She was fighting not only to protect the custody of her children, but also to protect herself from the manipulation and invasion that was imposed on her life. As Olivia's lawyer entered the courtroom, Olivia felt the tension. She was no longer the weak woman she had been. She thought. She was a mother, a strong woman fighting for her family. Although she had worries in her heart, she knew that her resilience would be what helped her overcome everything. Tom also arrived at the courthouse. He walked in with a confident air, a gentle smile as usual, but Olivia couldn't help but notice that this time, there was something fake about his confidence. He knew that this time he was no longer in control of things as before. Although he tried to maintain a calm appearance, his eyes could not hide the anxiety. He looked at Olivia with defiance, but deep down, she could see the fear slowly showing. The trial began, and Olivia felt every second tick by. She couldn't imagine facing all that. Tom did, but she also understood that if she didn't stand up, will continue to intrude into her life and her children's. She will not let him continue to do so. Olivia's attorney was very well prepared. All the evidence was clearly and coherently arranged. She provided recordings, conversations, and transcripts of conversations with Tom. All prove that not only interfered with Olivia's upbringing, but also intended to deprive her of custody. She has been searching for the truth, and now that truth will be revealed. When it was Tom standing up, he had prepared another story, but this time, Olivia clearly felt that he could not deceive everyone. He began with the familiar excuse, "I only wanted to do good for the children. I only wanted to protect them from the shortcomings I saw in Olivia's upbringing." I loved them as my own. But those words were no longer convincing enough. Tom made a big mistake thinking that Olivia couldn't fight him. "Don't lie anymore, Tom," Olivia said, her voice firm, unwavering. "The court and my children have seen what you have done. You are not the only one who has the right to decide their lives. My children need a mother, not a man who wants to usurp their fatherhood." Olivia stood firm before Tom, no longer feeling any fear. Tom tried to defend himself, but his words could not change the proven facts. She not only had the recordings, but also other powerful evidence, and all of it exposed the conspiracy of Tom. The entire courtroom hung on Olivia's every word, and she could feel everyone's sympathy. She was not only defending her rights as a mother, but also defending the values she believed in. She did not want her children to live in a manipulated environment, where they could not freely decide their own lives. She had fought to be the best mother she could be, and she would not give up. As the trial drew to a close, Olivia felt her nerves building. Her lawyer had presented a strong and clear case. There is no denying what happened. He has been brought to justice. Although the tension did not let up for Olivia, she felt a glimmer of hope when the court announced that Tom will no longer have the right to interfere with Olivia's upbringing of her children. She won, not only because she had clear evidence, but because she did not give up, because she persevered and did not give up her right to be a mother. When the trial was over, and when Olivia was declared emancipated from her children, she felt not joy, but a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Although this victory brought her some peace of mind, she knew that the road ahead was still full of challenges. However, with each step, Olivia felt that she was regaining her freedom, and so were her children. After the trial, Helen went to Olivia and hugged her tightly. "I knew you could do it," Maya said, her voice breaking. "You're stronger than ever." Olivia smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. She knew her family's life would never be the same, but at least she had regained control. She had protected her children, and in her mind, that was the greatest victory. She returned home, where her children were waiting, and this time, as they ran to hug her, Olivia felt a joy she had never felt before. These moments would be the most wonderful memories, moments she would never forget. Olivia knows that her life and her children will not be perfect, but she will always do everything to protect them from any intrusion, any manipulation. She has learned that sometimes justice does not come quickly, but in the end, perseverance and courage will help you win.